Well, wonderful to be here, and many of you know me as the founder of MoveOn.org. So what in the heck did I do writing a book recently about workplace practices and changing work culture? And what is Moms Rising? Well, when I was in the 60s, when I was a little kid, I looked around and women that worked were secretaries, teachers, and nurses. And this did not seem too exciting to me. And then in my teens, there was the women's movement. I was able to become a lawyer. I was able to start a business called Berkeley Systems with flying toasters and the game You Don't Know Jack. And I was able to co-found Move On. So, you know, I looked around in the world of work and things were looking very good in many ways. But then I read a certain data point that just kind of knocked my socks off. Because it turns out that if you're a woman without a child, you'll probably be making about what a man makes. But if you're a mother, you're going to be making about 73 cents to the equally educated and qualified man's dollar. And if you're a single mom, you're going to be making about 60 cents. And that all of a sudden explained to me why there's so many women and children in poverty, and also why there's so few women in leadership. In fact, if you look at the Fortune 500, the women CEOs have been hovering around 15. You know, sometimes a little up, sometimes a little down from that. Of the last 6 Supreme Court justice nominees, 3 men, 3 women, all the men had kids. None of the women did. Something is going on here. It's not an accident. And so I co-wrote a book called the Motherhood Manifesto. It started as one page because I've had a business and it's a system. It's not any one thing that causes this bias against mothers. And this looks something like, well, actually, this is the chapters of the book. It's a system in which we're not accepting the fact that though most kids have working parents now, that's all they have are working parents, there isn't a system in place to take care of kids when parents aren't there to help them. And so even men are experiencing bias when they're primary caregivers now, and it's not good for kids. But I'm going to be focusing on O, outstanding flexible work, because working on all these policy issues, I've come to find that the political system is somewhat toxic these days. I've heard something about that in this whole thing. And it's a joyful thing to be in the world of work. And in fact, notice there's no pink. We're leaving the pink ghetto because you don't want it to be just the moms. Excuse me. It turns out that all of those work practices that are good for moms, flexibility, the ability to telework, nonlinear career paths, high commitment work, it's good for everyone. And the core value of this book is everyone deserves a job that fits. Went too fast there. Work practices that honor workers' responsibilities, both on the job and off, have higher productivity, lower turnover, and much happier workforce. It's good for us. It's good for business. So the work practice options, flexibility, you know people that work flexibly, telework. I've been working remotely for better than 10 years, and I can't tell you how productive it is. But part-time telework, modern career tracks, contract work, babies at work, high-commitment work practices. High-commitment work practice take the best of all this, and they're fabulous. And I wrote about it in here, but we only have 10 minutes. So I'm only going to focus on the one of these that I consider a disruptive technology. Smartphones and personal computing has caused us to make changes even though, by and large, business practice, business culture doesn't change that much. You know, there's been decades of studies that some of these things are better ways to manage, and by and large, it doesn't happen. So in this case, we're seeing change even though lots of workplaces hate change. So what's pushing against it? Well, there's tradition and fear of change and distrust that someone that's working remotely isn't really working. But on the plus side, you've got increased worker productivity, you've got increased worker happiness, it's good for the continuity of business and national security, it reduces the trade deficit because we're bringing in less oil, it reduces smog, it reduces carbon. This picture, though, Honestly, I'm an optimist. That's tipping us towards it. We're not there yet. We're still like this. We're using a small fraction of what we could be using. Now, the Telework Research Network did a study that found that there's actually huge business savings, and we'd be saving $631 billion annually if the 50 million people that aren't teleworking now did so. These are the people that estimated could be teleworking, did so half-time, not full-time, just coming in at the right times when it's most productive. And the green savings, 235 million barrels of oil, 43 million tons of greenhouse gases. That's real productivity and ecological advantages. So why would we do this? It reduces fidelity costs. AT&T New Jersey put thousands of their workers, allowed them to work from their homes, and they are saving $6 million a year in facility costs. Attract and draw from broad talent pool. There's a medical center up in Boston. They couldn't find the talent they needed to fulfill their jobs, so they had to do it, and they found it worked beautifully when they enabled telework for their needs there. Increased productivity. 1-800 contacts, when the call center allowed people to work from home, they actually increased productivity and retained key employees. Everyone here knows at least one, if not 10 people that have been able to continue working when things happened in their lives because of the ability to work remotely. So who's doing it? Johnson Moving and Storage is a 100-year-old moving and storage company. 10 years ago, they enabled telework for the part of their sales force that could do it. And what they found is, yep, it helped on facility checks. They were able to attract more talent and keep talent they really wanted. Dell's call center in Idaho, they're starting to onshore jobs. McKinsey has found that prices have been going up overseas, while in fact the cost of allowing people to work from their homes has gone down. You don't have the cultural barriers. There are huge advantages. Startups, no startup costs. This list could go on. Once again, time limits. So how do we do this? You adopt a performance-based management style. And honestly, even if you don't use telework, adopt a performance-based management style. It's really the best kind of, it's the way to go. Be realistic but open-minded about telework's limits and opportunities. Change your leadership style to encourage telework, because if the people that telework don't advance in the company, that's not going to be a way to pursue a career. Design fair and consistent guidelines and set and maintain clear work-life boundaries. It's pretty simple, but you really do have to pay a lot of attention. Telework is really a lot of players facing the same direction. I'm an organizer. I see all these interests facing the same way, and yet we haven't really made that leap. And that's why I'm here. This is the Commit Forum. You're business people. And I'm really good for talking to the environmental community, but I think we need CEOs talking to the business community. So can we leverage telework as the leading edge of a work culture shift? And are we ready to shift from command and control to trust and empower? That's at the heart of this book about custom-fit workplaces, is empowering and trusting workers to do a great job. And it's amazing the outcomes you get. We now need strategic engagement of diverse champions, and that's why I'm here. I know a lot of folks in the political world, and I don't know a lot of folks in the business world. I'm hoping you guys will come up and talk to me after this and tell me what to do. I'm happy to help in the organizing part. This is the Berlin Wall coming down. That's you guys, but you look a lot better dressed. I'm looking forward to talking to you about this and the happy ever after. Thank you so much.